Welcome to the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast with Vicki Noethling. You are about to discover impactful lessons that help you grow as an individual, grow your confidence, and find the positive and good within you, so you powerfully and authentically become the best version of yourself. Be sure you visit our website at www.findyourleadershipconfidence.com. While you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now tune in, get ready, and enjoy the journey of emerging as a leader of exception in the 21st century.
Welcome, everyone, to the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast. I'm your host, Vicki Noethling, coming to you from Roswell, Georgia. The goal of this podcast is to bring topics and guests that will empower you to become that confident leader and take your business and your life to the next level. Today, I'm very excited to have with me Jack P. Roddy, and let me tell you a little bit about Jack. Jack is an international speaker, trainer, mentor, and coach with a passion for helping people find their voice, craft their message, and hone their delivery. JP offers practical solutions to the everyday challenge of not only communicating, but connecting. With years of experience in public speaking and leadership development, Jack has become a sought-after expert in the field. His engaging presentations combine humor, storytelling, and actual insights to inspire and motivate audiences across various industries. Today, I thought it would be great to talk about speaking to connect, the art of impactful communication. Please join me in welcoming my guest, Jack Roddy. Jack, so happy to finally get you on the podcast. We talked about this a lot. Jack and I are Toastmasters together, and he inspires us each week, and I thought it would be great to bring him on to inspire you. So, Jack, welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Vicki, and thank you for that wonderful introduction.
You're so welcome.
You're very
so welcome.
generous. Thank you. Thank you.
So we always start with two easy questions, Jack. The first is just tell everybody, what part of the country do you live in? Where do you call home?
I'm in a place called Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, which was the first capital of our country here in the United States. And today it's about 100 degrees out.
I know. We've got a hot one here in Georgia, too.
That's my hometown, yes.
Yes. So the second question I ask all of my guests is really to talk about your journey. What were those turning points, those aha moments that really informed who you are and what you do today and really why you do it? So talk about that journey for a little bit.
Well, thank you for that invitation. I started my career out of college as a sales manager for a publishing company. And then after a few years there, I wound up in New York City in television broadcasting in sales, TV. I was an account executive. Eventually, I got to the point when I turned 30 years old that I realized that my best approach to my career would be to have my own company. Yeah. So at age 30, I started an executive search firm that I kept running for over 25 years. And this was a very successful business. I worked in the automotive industry. I met a lot of great people, had an opportunity to get involved in a lot of big hiring decisions that major companies were making. All my clients were Fortune 500. And while I was doing this, I was also on my own personal journey of my own process, my own learning how to grow up, if you don't mind me using that word, really learning how to become a mature individual, a mature man. So I was also doing that kind of work. And as I grew into my executive search company more and more, I realized that I was becoming more of a mentor to some of my candidates and my hiring managers. And oftentimes they were treating me like you would treat a coach. And I always, as I got further along in my career, I decided to myself, I really wanted to be a coach. Because I felt like I had more to offer especially in the second half of life, had more to offer in that area of mentoring and coaching others. Also, too, Vicki, I would say that executive search is transactional. Now, there is a lot of nice satisfaction in being able to get the candidate the right job and satisfy the hiring manager's needs and the team. But the coaching role is much deeper, much transformative. So being able to get into a role that is a deeper relationship with others is a greater level of satisfaction for me as a person, as a professional. So the
Yeah.
transactional area of executive search is satisfying, but coaching is a deeper, more complete satisfaction because I get as much from my clients as I give to them.
Yeah, I can absolutely see that. So let's talk about communication. What's the difference between simply communicating and really, truly connecting with your audience?
Well, that's a great question. Let me tell you what I would say. Connecting is being vulnerable. I think for me, when I connect with my audience, I want to open up and maybe tell them where I failed.
Yeah.
Something that I didn't succeed at, something where I really had to pull myself up by the bootstraps. And I would put that in a story form to help my audience to see that, hey, look, I'm out here too. And, you're as much my teacher as I might be for you. So connecting to the audience is being vulnerable and being able to share your own story with them in a way that they feel a connection. I know when I'm in an audience and the speaker tells a story where they were a failure, or they lost something, or they didn't create a big win for themselves, I really feel closer to that person. And I feel like I want to meet that person. And so the two areas I would say for connecting over communicating would be being totally vulnerable of your shortcomings or weaknesses, and maybe also too how you corrected them, how you came outside the other side of that. And then the second one would be the area of storytelling, using your own self as the person in the story.
I think that's really important because when you show that vulnerability, that willingness to say, hey, I'm not perfect, but every failure I had was a lesson learned. And did I take that lesson and grow from it, learn from it, and begin to transform? Yeah.
Yes, definitely. That's very well said.
So you've worked with diverse groups. What's the one common obstacle that people face when they're trying to find their voice?
Oh boy, that's a good one. You know exactly what to ask, I'll tell you. I would say in my coaching experience, Vicki, it would be self-doubt. In other
Number
words, there's
one.
a little voice in the mind, like with my
Yeah.
clients. I think the biggest thing I bring to my clients is their ability to overcome self-doubt. Their ability to have a higher level of belief in self is a big part of what my job is, because they're always questioning, oh, I can't do as well as him. They compare themselves to others.
Yeah.
And see, comparison is an ego device. Now, that's a line out of A Course in Miracles. But what I try to do is I try to help train my clients to don't ever compare yourself with anybody. Comparison is mundane, and it's about the ego. You don't want to go there. You are your own story, and try to focus on staying within yourself. So for me, I think a lot of leaders and speakers sometimes not only have self-doubt, but they also lack a level of confidence that would make them more relaxed and more deliberate in their leadership. And of course, what we're being is even more impactful to our audience than what we're saying. So the beingness of the leader, if the leader is comfortable in his or her own skin and has a confidence that comes from the inside out, see, that's where we want to get. That's where I try to get my clients to reach.
Yeah. And I think, that's what people sometimes think of as that charisma, that person that walks in the room and you're immediately attracted to them by that confidence, that courage, all of those things. And you think, oh, how did they get that? And it's really from your inside. It's really carrying that out.
Yes, yeah, it comes out, it manifests as what people call charisma, but it is an inner confidence coming from the inside, yes.
So now you found your voice. How do you help people craft a message that resonates, especially in high stakes situations, and kind of weave in there the need to understand your core values?
Okay. One of the first things in my work, my model in coaching is what's working, what's not working, what's missing, and what's next. Those are the four parameters, the dynamics that make up my model. The first thing we do is we get what is your mission? What is your vision statement, your mission statement? And then 3 to 5 non-negotiable core values is what we get down to in the beginning of my coaching relationship with a client. 3 to 5 non-negotiable core values that you will live by, and all your decisions are predicated upon. And they might be, things like honesty. Could be something like always be on time. Yeah, could be something simple like, always start the meeting on time, no matter who might be late, right? But 3 to 5 non-negotiable core values. And so using them to then we get to where we find our edge. Now, everybody has an edge. And what is an edge? An edge is the part of you that stands out above and beyond your competition. Maybe it's your self-awareness. It could be your empathy for others. It could be you have a great memory or you're a good listener, but whatever. But everybody has an edge somewhere. And oftentimes their own journey, their own story of life has given them that edge. And then what we do is we work to capitalize on that edge and leverage that into their work with others and in leadership.
So true. Can you share a memorable moment when someone had a breakthrough in their delivery?
Okay, that's a good question. I'm thinking right now. I had a young man who was promoted. He was very upwardly mobile, so he's also very ambitious, and he was up to a director level at age about 34. So he was way ahead of his peers in terms of his upward mobility. And he invited me to come to hear him give a talk, which was a company talk to his whole team and the other indirect reports within his organization. And I was in the back of the room. I didn't want to be right up front. And as he started to deliver a speech, he had his notes out, and suddenly he just stopped. And he kind of broke down for a minute, and he dropped his papers on the podium there, and he said, "You know what?" And he got emotional, and he said, "I have to share something with you before I can go on. My mom is dying." And I have been totally taken over by my care for my mom. I'm her only son, and my father has already passed away. And this has taken up a lot of my space. And he asked the audience to kind of forgive him for not being more present. And then at that point on in his talk, he totally came from the heart and came from his own intuition. And he gave a great talk. But it wasn't until he was able to uncover that covert thought that was in him about the heavy burden of his mom passing away, that he was able to really come out. So for me, that was like a breakdown and a breakthrough both. Oftentimes they say you have a breakdown before you have a breakthrough. So in a way, he actually broke down in the beginning of his talk and then had the breakthrough to allow his intuition and his naturalness take over. It was beautiful to behold. I'll never forget it.
Wow.
And you see that happen once in a while. I was just so glad just to be there for it.
Yeah. I remember whenever I was in management school, and at UPS, they used to send you away for 3 weeks with just this group of people that were newly promoted, but the final test was to go through the school to graduate after 3 weeks. And I had a person who was in the field, working in one of our hubs, had been promoted to supervisor, and then a month later they promoted him as manager. and didn't recognize, he was good tactically, operationally, but they didn't recognize that he didn't have a lot of skills in leadership. And
Okay.
he was terrified of public speaking. And
Hmm.
so we got all the way to the last night. And every time we had to do any kind of presenting, any kind of small groups, he would freeze up, go to the bathroom, be sick.
Really?
And so finally, that night before, I went to the teacher and I said, this guy has, when he is in small groups with just us talking, he has great ideas. He has great heart. He just needs the confidence that he can do this. And the teacher said, I got this. And the next day, we were all in our networking part before the meeting started, the class started, and the teacher asked him about the game last night. And he went off and he talked about this game. And part of the thing you had to do was you had to do a sports news or weather report. So this kid is just telling us all about, telling the coach, the teacher, all about this game and his favorite player and everything. And he was animated, he was funny, he was natural, conversational. And after 3 minutes, the teacher said, thanks for your sports talk. And Jack, if you would see, he almost grew 5 inches in stature. His smile was like if you, are walking down the aisle to see your bride or your groom, It was so wonderful. And that's really was one of my pivotal moments that said, I need to do this. And from that point on, when I have somebody that's in that situation, I remember that it is just a conversation that we have.
Wow, what a story. And obviously this teacher knew what his trigger was. He was a
Yeah.
sports guy, and she got him to talk about that what he loves.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was a breakthrough for him.
Yeah. It was.
Beautiful story.
It showed that, he could do it. And that's all he needed to know, is that he could do it. He didn't get sick. He survived, right?
Wow.
So what's your go-to advice for someone that's preparing for their first major production or presentation?
Well, go to for a new speaker or a new person who's in a leadership role. I would say work as hard as you can to become centered within yourself. In other words, be in touch with your breathing. To try not to be totally in your mind so that everything is cerebral, and try to be in touch with your body as a way to help you relax. And I think it's also important, especially for a first-time speaker or leader, to be in their body and not in their head, so that and be aware of that need to have that presence of breathing. Be conscious of your breathing. If your breathing is shallow, you can even go and look in the mirror and say, okay, my breathing is shallow. Now I need to, take that into a deeper place before I start to get in front of the audience. So everything around the physical, to make sure that the person is fully in their body, and then realize that, hey, everybody puts their pants on the same way every day. We're all coming from the same hometown. There's nobody out here that's out to get you, and everybody's looking forward to your communication, your delivery, so that a person goes up there with some confidence too, because they obviously have something to offer, or they wouldn't be in that role.
That's so true. And so this kind of goes back to my story, and you and I talked before about leadership. Sometimes you have a person in your team, in your group, that really is demonstrating leadership. And how important is it for you as the leader to recognize that, and for that person who has that natural leadership tendency to be able to really grow it, develop it, become stronger. So we used to say, dress like you want the role you want to be. So maybe lead like the leader you want to be. How's that sound?
Yeah, that's what George Washington did when he went to the First Continental Congress in 1774. He dressed as the soldier he was in the French and Indian War. That quote probably comes all the way back from George Washington. Yeah, dress the way the person you want to become. Right.
Right. But importantly, even if you aren't the leader, the head of that group, department, team, how important is it that you feel comfortable, confident enough to lead as if you are?
Yes, and in the extrinsic world of structure, we have someone who's appointed the manager or director or leader, right?
Right.
But then, if we look at leadership from the inside, there are people that have all the DNA and all the makeup of being a leader just from the inside out, even though they might be just a team player, or they might be the third wheel, two levels below the manager, maybe. But yet they have this intrinsic value that already shows that they are a leader. So a leader doesn't have to be the one who runs the whole team. For me, leadership is always an inside job. It comes from the inside out. So if somebody has the right mindset, now that doesn't mean you have to. You still have to be politically aware of how to navigate the organization, but you don't have to have a deference level that's so high. You can have a lower deference level and not have to please. You don't want to be a people pleaser, but you want to be able to think on your feet, and when you have a good idea, to bring that out and see if it has legs, and see if your idea might be something that can go right up the ladder and cause some change.
Right.
And also be, a leader is somebody who's a good example. You could be a team member, and if you're a real good example of a team member, that in itself is leadership.
Right.
In some ways, the best team players are also the best leaders too.
Right. And I think that goes back to, you mentioned earlier about ego. I think that's also a clear sign too, is that you can set aside your ego in your decision making, in your communication. That's where that impactful communication comes in.
Yeah, the ability to think of others and not about yourself. There was a quote one time, if you want to be successful and have everything you want in life, just go out and make everybody else get their dreams and make their life great, and yours will just automatically happen. So, yeah, getting out of your own way is a big part of leadership. We see a lot of leaders that get in their own way, and if they don't have a breakthrough in that area, Vicki, they're not going to get up on the next rung on the ladder at their organization. But getting in their way, and that's, you use the word ego. And that's the ego. And also ego is about fear. Oh, I got to get my part. I have to get that promotion. And that does not work. That's not the way you can move up. You have to let go of ego and think of others. And that's where you assimilate up the ladder.
So true. That's a great place for us to stop today. Time has flown by. Such a great conversation. Such a great conversation.
Oh, geez. Well, once we get started on this, I just can't hardly stop.
Yeah.
It's exciting to talk about. People, development, growth.
One last question. What would be a few practical things that our listeners could do to improve their communication skills to be impactful?
Well, I think everybody who is ambitious and is serious about their career should have a coach. Now, as a coach, I have a coach. I wouldn't be a coach without having a coach, because I find the flow of your development and your growth, is from above to you to everybody else. Not that it's hierarchical, it's not, but being in touch with flow when you are part of that stream of being mentored and mentoring both. So the first thing I would say is be in that place of flow where you have a coach. If you're coaching other people as a leader, you're mentoring your team. You should also have someone who is mentoring you. That's number one. Number two, take on some practices like I found that in my world, meditation really helped me. It was through meditation that I was able to develop my emotional intelligence to a level where I have more awareness than I had, a lot more awareness than I had 25, 30 years ago. So meditation and other practices like mindfulness practice, making sure you have a good work-life balance. The whole idea of a workaholic is an upside down value that does not work. So, when your boss is pushing you, you have to push back, and, work-life balance is where you're the most productive and the most effective. Without work-life balance, you can't reach that. The workaholic does not make qualitative decisions overall.
Yeah. Yeah. You're exhausted. You're really just a lot of times trying to do the first thing that comes to mind rather
Can
than
I
well
add one
thought
more
through.
thing to that question you
Sure.
asked me? And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I would also say look for feedback, take in feedback, ask people, hey, Joe, you're around me a lot. Where do you see me where I might be able to grow some, and where I maybe, need to look at a blind spot I might have? Ask for feedback, get feedback on yourself, because that also teaches you how to give feedback too. So reach out for
Yeah.
feedback from your peers or those above you, from every area, to help you to know yourself better.
Yeah. Everybody fears the 360 feedback, but it's really very, very helpful.
Well, yes, some people, yes, people do fear it. You're right. I like to think that some people don't fear it, but you're probably right.
Yeah. I
The
used
360
to,
feedback.
we used to do, I'm sure they still do, employee relations survey. And I always, as the coordinator for it, I would remind everyone just answer the questions as if you were looking in the mirror and answering the questions to some, because, sometimes we don't really honestly respond to those things. Yeah, fear of retribution or whatever you want to say, but
I will say,
you
if I'm coaching a leader, Vicki, and that person is afraid of 360 feedback, now this is important. If they're afraid of 360 feedback, then we got a long engagement of coaching, because first of all, that person has to have a breakthrough in that
yeah.
relationship to feedback. No, really, they have to want to welcome it. We want to get our leaders to want to embrace feedback. Come on, tell me where I'm off for you. Tell me where I can do a better job. We want our leaders to have that attitude toward feedback. So that
Yeah,
there's a big breakthrough that has to happen if a leader is afraid of feedback.
for
There's
sure.
always a little bit of stress with it, but to allow yourself to be open to that and take it in fully and not be defensive. Getting rid of that defensiveness is important too.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. All
Anyway, I
right.
didn't mean to get
Well,
carried away over
no,
feedback,
that's
but that's
awesome.
that's one of my pet peeves is feedback.
I agree. You can't really be effective as a coach unless you have that ability and that relationship with your client to be able to give and take, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Awesome. All right. Well, it's time now for me to share the contact information. If you thought, wow, I love what Jack is saying and I'd love to connect with him, as always, I do have a slide that has that contact information. You can find everything on my YouTube channel, Vicki Noethling. So please subscribe if you haven't already, as well as my findyourleadershipconfidence.com website in the show notes. So the website for those just listening is JP, like John Paul or Jack Paul, Roddy, RODDY, jproddy.com. Facebook is JP Roddy Coaching, and LinkedIn is JP Roddy. I'll turn it over to Jack to be able to talk to you about what he has on his website and where what he puts out on social media that might help you in your journey. Jack?
Okay, thank you, Vicki. I do post on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the most visible of all the social media that I use. But I do post I'm in several leadership groups on LinkedIn, and I post an average of about once every week or 10 days. And the best way, I give a free intro. If you go to my website, you can book a free introduction with me for at least 30 minutes to give you a full picture of what it would like to be coached and what it would like to be coached within JP Roddy's approach to coaching. So you'd get a good idea of what a working relationship would look like. And you may have somebody who wants to be referred to for a coach too. But a free intro for 30 minutes is a button you can hit on my website. But LinkedIn, I do use other social media, but mainly LinkedIn is my main channel.
Right. And you do have some blogs out there, articles that will also help folks.
Yes, on my website and on LinkedIn, you can look up my articles. I've been published in Directors and Boards magazine. So, I get involved in board development and all these areas of organizations. Right now, I'm on a coaching team for a Fortune 50 company that is well known that I will not discuss with anybody. It's confidential. But, I'm out there and would love to hear from you. And I appreciate the fact that you came and listened to us today. So, and Vicki, thank you for having me as your guest. It's been an absolute delight. I'm enjoying just getting to know you better as a podcast host and a coach.
Awesome. Jack, so fun. So happy that you finally got on the podcast, that we could
How did
spend
we
some
do?
time
Did we do
together.
okay?
I think so. So as always, I remind everyone that life is a journey and it's up to you to enjoy the ride. This is Vicki Noethling signing off.
Thank you for tuning into the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast with Vicki Noethling, where we share impactful lessons that help you grow as an individual, grow your confidence, and find the positive and good within you so you powerfully and authentically become the best version of yourself. Remember to visit our website at www.findyourleadershipconfidence.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast.